Boris, does anyone from the audience have a question? A gentleman in the front row. Actually, I think we've got some microphones coming around. There we go.
Hello, Boris. Hello, Alison. I've written it in my memo. I'm a great fan of yours. I remember the matches in Wimbledon very much. Your first win against Kevin Curran. Why do you think serve-and-volley has gone out of vogue? Players like you and McEnroe have become very rare. My follow-on question after the Sampras and Federer effect, do you see a future serve-and-volleyer stepping onto the courts ever again? Thank you.
My pleasure. No, I think you raise a very good point. There was a long time where the baseline players, I call them the counter-punchers, started winning tournaments. I mean, it's partly Novak's fault, it's partly Andy's fault, it's partly Rafael's fault. Because they've been winning, all these matches from the back of the court. But there's a guy from Switzerland called Roger Federer who actually plays very, very well the serve and volley, and more now than he's played before, because he's realizing that's maybe something these baseliners don't like so much. And he's perfected his craft. He's a 7-time Wimbledon champion. He's one of the all-time greats, certainly the most successful. So there is a chance, if you know what you're doing, to be still successful with a serve and volley game. Having said that as well, the young Australians, they play offensive tennis. No, they don't come to the net every time, but they play offensive tennis. They come after the first serve. They're looking to win the point, hitting a winner instead of waiting for the opponent to make a mistake. I think that's the biggest change. And it really matters how good you are. I think it is possible today, but these bailers have pretty good returns, so you better make sure your approach shot is good.
Have we got another question for Boris? Lady there in the denim jacket. I think there's a mic coming your way.
Hi.
Hello.
I want to ask, which of the following do you prefer more? Being a coach of a top player or being a top player yourself? Or can you not compare them?
I'm 47 now, so a quick response to that. I'm much better coach than I'm a player. But when you're 27, you want to be the player. I don't think I would have been a good coach 10 years ago, because my mindset was still the player. I would have coached my player the way I would have played, but that's wrong. A coach has to think what's best for the player. And mentality-wise, you're in the second row. It's about the player, it's not about you. And I think that has a lot to do with growing up, maturing, and understanding what you need to do to make your player a much better player. Because of my playing history, the understanding is there, the emotions are there, and I think the small details of winning and losing is there, but I'd rather coach these days than play.
Interesting question. Gentleman there in the back row. I think we've got...
Yeah.
Hello. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, sorry about that. I think the mic's just coming.
The mic is coming, hold on, otherwise we don't hear it.
Mr. Becker,
yes.
It's great to meet you.
Thank you.
I love London, but I think you should consider also becoming a Grenadian citizen. But I wanted to ask you, do you think that if the sets were shortened to 3 for the men, would their professional life be longer? Because I'm sure at a certain age when you physically can't do as much as you can, your passion is still there.
Of course, the passion is still there now. But we have rules in tennis, and I think they're very good. A set lasts until 6, or you play a tiebreaker until 7. I think that's good. There's always talk of changing some of the rules in tennis. I'm not so much for it, because there's a reason this game is so successful for such a long time. Yes, the invention of a tiebreak was good, just to shorten the sets altogether. Talking the 60s and 70s, they played sets 12-10, 8-6, so the match would last even longer. With the television world we live in, that wouldn't be feasible. But the 5th set is still open, and not too long ago there was the longest match of all time played at Wimbledon. John Isner won that. Let me think the score. Was it 60-58 or 70-68? Something like that. Ridiculous. 12 hours. So you got to be fit enough to play the game, period. You know, whether you're 25 or 35, it doesn't matter. You have to be good enough, you have to be fit enough. And if you can't do it anymore, you got to move on. Those are the rules. Yeah.
Oh, exhausting.
And I agree with the island you live in. It's a beautiful part of the world, yes. So, yeah.
Lady there in the front row. To wait for the mic.
Hi. I think a lot of people were quite surprised to see Andy Murray hiring Amelie Mauresmo as his coach, because you don't see many women on the tour coaching the men's game especially. Do you see this as something that's going to take off, and do you think you're going to see a lot more female coaches for the men's game in the coming years?
I must admit I was surprised as well. I liked the relationship he had with Ivan Lendl. I liked the relationship he had with Danny Valverdue. And I didn't know that there was a relationship between Amelie and him and so forth. But at the end of the day, you're either a good or bad coach. Doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. She's certainly a very fine coach. They've had great success the last 12 months. And that's really his choice. Whatever works for him is the right decision. I haven't seen many more female coaches on the men's tour though. I guess it's still an unknown territory, and male players are still careful with it. I understand on one hand. On the other hand, you have to do what's best for your game. And if the coach you're talking to is a woman, go hire her. You know, it doesn't really matter. And I give Andy credit for that. You know, it was a bold move. It was a decision that was criticized. People laughed about it. I don't think all the opponents that lost to him in the last 12 months laugh about it anymore.
Okay, another question? I think we maybe go to this guy, quite right.
Hi Boris. Firstly, huge fan. I was fortunate enough to, the first tennis match I ever went to was the Wimbledon final in '97.
Oh, excellent,
so
yeah.
Obviously
Great.
wrong result, but I remember, you know. I was reading through the iBook this morning when I booked it, and I'd like to think I know a little bit about you and the rest of it, but what really struck me is some of the details which I'd never read before. When you were going through it, you know, the making of the book, did you yourself sort of almost remember memories that you had previously forgotten?
Well, when you're in the middle of it, meaning middle of a tennis tournament, and then you give an interview afterwards, you're very protective of the insights and the difficult moments you go through, because you don't want your opponents to understand what you're going through. And also you don't want the world to know. And I'm not the type of guy that lives in the past. I've never watched an old video of mine. I've never watched a speech of mine. I live in the moment. I think for the future, obviously, because of my heritage. So when the decision was made that it's 30 years and maybe I should remember in a nice, friendly way, in an honest way, about what Wimbledon meant to you then and what it means to you now, you start remembering, and you take your time, and it's a process. Book takes a while, where you go through the nitty-gritty, and with a bit of distance to it, you understand that those were unbelievable times, but they're also difficult times. And I think it's my responsibility to share that, to teach other 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds what it was like. Plus also, when you are that much in the spotlight, now and then you want to have the record straight, just for memory's sake. I'm still young enough to remember what happened 30 years ago. Ask me in 10 years, I would have forgotten most of it. So, and I dedicated this book to my 4 children, because eventually they're old enough and they may have a question or two. As I said, we're not getting any younger, so this is for memory's sake. They have a father that won Wimbledon a few times and calls Wimbledon his home, and I want them to know why that is.
Glorious. I think we had a question here in the front row.
Hi, Boris.
Hello.
Honored to meet you.
Thank you.
A few people wanted me to ask you this question. What would you regard as the best match you ever played, where you thought you were like unbeatable, And also the opposite, what was the worst match you ever played? And you walked off court thinking, my God, should I quit?
I have forgotten that. The best match, very difficult to say. I've played over 1,000 matches. I've won over 750 matches of that. Each match was important, whether it was a first round, a second round, or a final. And I keep really saying that because I mean it. A Wimbledon final isn't won on that final Sunday. It's won on some practice court at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's a windy day, nobody's watching, and your knees hurt. That's when you learn the determination and the desire and the attitude, what it takes to win a Wimbledon final. So all the matches I played, I wouldn't want to miss for the world. The ones I've lost, I've forgotten. I'm a bad loser. It takes me a long time to overcome that. I've had some tough losses, of course. I didn't win, I was in 7 Wimbledon finals. I lost 4. I've never won the French Open. I could have been number 1 a lot longer, potentially. But on the other hand, I'm totally blessed, really, that I've made my passion my job. Very few people can say that, and I've got to travel all around the world. I met amazing people, and I was winning more than I was losing. So bottom line, I'm a lucky guy.
Where do you keep all of your awards, Boris? Do they have centre stage at home? Are they on the mantelpiece, or are they in the downstairs league?
No. A few are in museums, in the Tennis Hall of Fame in Rhode Island. Germany has a few. My mother has others. In my home, I hardly have any, and when I have friends and everything, they're almost disappointed that all the trophies. I thought you.
Yeah.
But I'm not the type of guy that needs to see it every day how much I've won to have a smile on my face. It was good while I did it, but today my life is a little different, and I like talking about it. The book was important to me, but it's not something I have to share every day of the rest of my life.
Lovely. Do you have a final question for Boris?
This gentleman here? We make 2 questions.
Oh, yeah, 2.
Lady and a man, yeah?
Yeah, let's go.
Thank you. Hello, first of all. I have 2 questions. One requires a very short answer. May I ask both of them, or should I choose one over the other?
One or the other.
The second one requires a very short answer.
Okay, I'll give you a short answer.
I'll start with the longer one.
Okay.
Boris, at 17, you won Wimbledon. By the age of 24, you had won almost everything. I wanted to ask you, do you think there are dangers in very early success? And would you prefer your success had come at a later point in life?
If I would have had the same outcome, yes. Winning Wimbledon at 17 was great on one hand, but it put a lot of expectations and pressures on the other. Every match was considered another Wimbledon final, and I for myself, and then for my opponents and the world media. So I didn't think I would, or I didn't develop as freely and as naturally in the forthcoming years because of that, because I was always measured against, was it luck? Was it the famous 15 minutes the guy had, or is he really that good? I probably would have won more if my first Grand Slam win would have come at 20 or 21, and I had those 2 or 3 years as a learning curve and as just trying out some of the things that I didn't allow myself anymore. And the second question?
The second is, what is the first word that comes in your mind when you think of Novak Djokovic?
Two words, class act.
Good answer. Great question. And let's cross over here to this lady that had a question, I think.
Please, you had one. Yeah.
This question is going to come through the sign language interpreter.
Okay.
She's saying, okay.
Well, first of all, wow, that was a real honour to hear some of your stories. So yeah, it's very unusual to have an interpreter to see what you were talking about, really. So I've got 2 questions, if that's okay. Firstly is about the book that you wrote. Obviously, you're not a writer, or you haven't been. Did you write it really quickly? Did you find it really difficult? Did you have a ghostwriter that came and helped you? How did you actually achieve the book?
I like to think I have a few talents. Writing books is not one of them. I'm very honest about that. I had a wonderful ghostwriter. He became a close friend of mine. We shared many afternoons and many nights because I have to open my soul to him. He really needs to understand why I want to say whatever I said. I think he did a very good job. His advantage was that he's fluent in English and in German. I'm not 100% perfect in English, so sometimes I had to ask him in German what that word meant in English, and he was able to translate it to me, and that really helped in the whole process. He's a real tennis connoisseur. He travels to tour for a long time. He was a journalist while I played, so we go back a long time. So he's seen my journey in the last 20 years, 25 years. So I didn't have to explain to him the impact Wimbledon had on me.
I read recently that you were quite disappointed about the new rule about not being able to swear on court. I was wondering, is there any transcript? Because back in my time, there wasn't any subtitles, so I never got to see you swearing on court. How can I find a transcript?
Just watch one of these old matches between McEnroe and Connors. I would suggest to turn off the volume a little bit because it's different type of English. No, what I meant was, nowadays players get criticized that they're not personalities because they don't show emotions. And I want to defend the players who are saying they are great personalities, but the rules don't allow them to show their true feelings because they get fined, they get penalty points, they get warnings. On the other hand, tennis is becoming a family sport. You have lots of kids, young families watch it, and I think it's right that they cannot just do whatever they want to do because they might do that. So, but again, it's not the players' fault, it's the world we live in, and everything has to be very politically correct. They make a lot of money, they are role models, and they have to behave a certain way, but it doesn't mean they're not personalities. I think they're great personalities.
Yeah, that's a great point on which to end. So thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for your questions, really interesting, and thank you, Boris. Such a wonderful session.